What is up, you guys? My name is WelpGG's, and I am here with a build guide for Acolyte of Chayula. Like most of us, I saw these two nodes and was like, that's ridiculous. We should do some instant ES leech. Right, mana leech is instant, and then mana leech effects apply to energy shield. Some good stuff. But there's not a lot of good sources of physical damage in Path of Exile 2. I feel like they went really hard on converting everything. So like you start off obviously with quarterstaffs, and it's like, what good abilities do you have that just do physical damage? Not, you don't have many choices. A lot of stuff is converted to lightning, to cold, whatever, you know. Wind Blast, I was like, Wind Blast would be great, but it does so little damage, especially compared to Stormwave, which I was using at the time to level. It does 205% attack damage, and it does 107. So like it's twice the damage, just because why not? Like, why can't this do good physical damage? I really wanted Wind Blast to work. So I was looking through, I was thinking about crossbows. There's not much good in here. Like fragmentation rounds I wanted to use, but like I hate reloading. Feels bad. Settled on Toxic Growth. Please enjoy some gameplay. Toxic Growth fires 8 projectiles and leaves behind little ticking time bombs on the ground that are just waiting to explode. They will after 6 seconds naturally, but we can speed that up by triggering them with any source of poison. In our case, we're using Gas Arrow, which leaves behind a lingering cloud of gas that poisons, and we want the cloud to be as big as possible and last for as long as possible, so that's the supports we're giving it, as well as the ability to break armor. A variant of this build could use the poison damage more efficiently, but we're focused more heavily on the physical aspect. The poison is just there to trigger Toxic Growth and deal as much physical damage as possible for our leech. Here I'm running a ultimatum encounter. Gonna see all 3 bosses. I did want to do the final boss as well, the Trial Master, but I didn't get the right middle piece at the end, you'll see. But all 3 bosses and some sped up areas in between. Hope you enjoy.
That scares me every time. Like, I know he's gonna be there.
That sucker expects me to go all the way down there, but I'm just not doing it. It's gonna have to come back up to me. You can catch me streaming, by the way, twitch.tv/whelp_GGs. I'll leave a link in the description if you enjoy my content. I'm streaming all the time. I really would appreciate a follow. And yeah, any questions about the build, I'm happy to answer them there.
I suggest you aim for the head. Sorry.
Sucker.
Don't forget to like and subscribe here on YouTube as well. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I just noticed while editing this video that I say sucker after every boss kill. I just think that's hilarious. I also noticed in this video that I say massive when I'm talking about the skill tree a lot, so that's fun. But yeah, overall the damage is fantastic, survivability is fantastic, all the way up through tier 15, and in boss content I haven't been afraid of dying. The leech is amazing. Don't have to worry about flask uptime or running out of flash charges. Yeah, I hope you enjoy this build as much as I have.
Challenger.
Sucker. I have the left and the right already, and I got another right. I need the middle. Oh, that's annoying.
Build. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna lesser jeweler them to 3. We'll do them one row at a time. Boom. 4. Just like that. I got all of these in preparation for that to not work because it took me forever. So I'm glad that hit so soon. You could tell I've been trying for a while. It's a good strategy to do that, but it takes some attempts. So don't expect to get it on your first try. Also on Wind Dancer, I have Soul Thief. This isn't very significant, honestly, but when you get hit, you can knock back enemies, deal kind of okay physical damage, and then leech some of that. So it's like when you get hit, you get healed a little bit, which is nice. We're also culling and maiming when that happens, so that's nice. Ghost Dance is really nice. When you get hit, you recover ES based on your evasion. So we're trying to have a kind of good amount of evasion. We have 5,000. So Ghost Dance gives us 5% of 5,000. So what, 250? So when you're hit, you recover 250 ES, which is not bad. We're supporting that by fast forward to reduce the time it takes between getting Ghost Shroud stack. So Into the Breach is supported by Herbalism, 30% increased recovery from life loss. And this is always active, so we just automatically get Herbalism and Clarity. These don't really matter too much, but they're free, so why not take them, you know? Some free mana regen, and our life flasks are converted into Energy Shield. So this does affect us. The other 2 supports that you can do, Vitality and Cannibalism, don't affect us because we don't have life, because we are Chaos Inoculated. So our maximum life is 1, but we are immune to Chaos damage, which does double damage to ES, so it's good to not take Chaos damage. For Toxic Growth, we have 40% more area effect. Toxic Growth does shotgun, so the more overlap you can get, the more damage you'll deal. So 4% more area is nice. 30% more maximum physical damage, so we're only doing physical damage. We have Brutality for 35% more physical damage. We're dealing no Chaos or Elemental because only our physical damage leeches. So we want as much physical damage as possible. So Heft and Brutality are, I believe, the only 2 just straight physical damage buffs supports in the game. And then Martial Tempo, we're kind of lacking for good supports for this skill. It has a plus 0.7 total attack time, so the Martial Tempo doesn't affect it as much as we would like. It feels a little slow, but it does help. Then for Gas Arrow, we have Corrosion. This is pretty massive. Things that are in your gas cloud will just have broken armor after about a second of standing in the gas cloud. They'll have broken armor. This Bursting Flame, it helps a lot with clear. You don't have to against weaker enemies, you don't have to use Toxic Growth, and like I'm hoping as we scale damage even more, we'll be able to just clear with the Gas Arrow and Bursting Plague. But this definitely does help get some of those enemies that we missed with our initial volley. Persistence just has the gas cloud linger longer, so we don't have to use the skill as much because our main skill is Toxic Growth. So we're basically firing a gas arrow just to have it around. And then because it's lasting longer, the Poison Cloud actually gains area over time. So it becomes larger. So deadly poisons, the only reason we're using gas arrow is for the poison effect. The hit doesn't matter. It basically hits the ground. So the hit damage doesn't matter. 75% more magnitude of poison is pretty massive. So those are our skills. Looking at our tree, we're coming up through skill speed, attack damage, grabbing increased evasion and max energy shield. That's always good. Getting more skill speed and damage if we've dealt a crit. We don't have the greatest crit chance in the world. Our crit chance is 24%. We're pretty likely to get a 24% roll in the past 8 seconds. So this is usually almost always up. So 36. This is a pretty massive node. Coming down, we got attack damage and blind chance. We got more evasion rating while on full life. So this is really big because we're always on full life since we're chaos inoculated. So we always have stun threshold and a pretty big chunk of evasion rating. This one's massive. 2 flat evasion rating per 1 max ES on our helm. We have 455 ES on our helm, so this gives us 910 flat ES. So that's where most of our that's where most of our evasion is coming from. Coming up here, we have crit damage bonus, more crit. We don't really care about our max mana. I was thinking at some point we might want to grab Mind Over Matter just because it's some extra life, and I think the most tuned version of this build would have a lot of mana, and we're getting really close. So it's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points away. So I think the ultimate version of this build would take Mind Over Matter. But we're not grabbing it right now, so that 10% reduce doesn't matter. And even if we did take Mind Over Matter, we would still want it because 40% increased is worth it. Coming over here, we get some attack damage while on full life, which is always true. Attack speed. These are a nice amount of mana leech and also increased maximum. Both of these are nice, but amount leech is nice because that's a lot of our survivability. Is the fact that we're instant leeching to mana, and this also affects ES. If you wanted to be crazy, you can come down here and take this. This also might be a good choice for a amulet. Paranoia, fear. Break 30% increased armor on enemies affected by ailments. That's not too important because the poison cloud is breaking all the armor anyway. But the 25% increased physical damage is really nice, so we're getting that anyway. Crit chance, crit damage, crit chance, crit damage. This, like I said, life recharges instead of energy shield is completely moot because we only have 1 health, but life recovery from flasks is really nice, and we're going this way anyway. So Icebreaker is really cool. I wouldn't take it until it would probably be one of the last things. I would ignore this. But around tier 10, 11 maps, you'll notice you get frozen a lot. Before tier 10 maps, I was fine. I didn't have this. I would never get frozen. Around there is when things started freezing me, and I was like, I need something against that. So I took this node and 100% of maximum energy shield as additional freeze threshold. I have not been frozen once since taking this because 8,000 extra freeze threshold is pretty massive. You also get 10%, so 30% increased freeze threshold along the way. On top of that, 8,000 flat is massive. So you, after taking this node, haven't gotten frozen. Obviously, chaos inoculation, bonus critical damage and physical damage. This node is huge, 60% increased maximum energy shield, and then because we're not recharging our energy shield anyway, we're relying fully on leech. There's no downside, so this is just a massive buff. You might want to grab this node as well, and maybe these as well, because it's good to have more ES. What can I say? All of my jewels are just 20% increased maximum energy shields, or 19%. And these feel pretty big. Like we go from 8222. If I take one of these out, 7, 9, so that's 300 energy shield. just from 1 jewel. I was over here and took asceticism and self-mortification. His stun threshold is really nice, but I was thinking since I was coming over here anyway and I wanted to get down to Illuminated Crown and heavy buffer, I was like, I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to this first energy shield node. But since I'm here, I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's 2 extra points, but that gets you 8, 16, 24, 32% plus 20% of maximum energy shield as additional stun threshold, and 3% ES and mana. So it's a trade-off. Like you could 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spend 6 nodes to get over here. I haven't really gotten stunned much since making this change. I think this is enough. This is definitely more, obviously. So these are both really strong, but I haven't really needed them, and these are more efficient if I'm over here anyway, and I want to get down to here. So that's the route we're going right now. Definitely going to get, these are going to be my next 2 points. But yeah, that's the tree. Oh, and then for Ascendancies, we're obviously getting these 4. This is like the core of the build. And then the rest of the tree is really disappointing, or the rest of the Ascendancy is really disappointing for us. We're already Chaos Inoculated, so this does nothing. We're using Brutality, so this does nothing. Darkness, I'm really curious to know if there's any Acolyte that is using this node, because removing all of your spirits is like such a big penalty, and Darkness feels like it doesn't, I don't know, it feels bad. It reads bad. It could be good. Maybe I'm just ignorant to how good this is. But I'm not going to take it. And Into the Breach it does next to nothing. But when you're comparing next to nothing to absolutely nothing, it's good. Or like actively detrimental, because we're removing all the spirit, mainly because of the 4% increased skill speed, because none of these do anything for you either. So it's like nothing, very little, actively detrimental. So that's where we're at. That's the passive tree. Those are the skills. Alright, so in terms of gear, we want physical damage as much as possible. Physical damage, leech, crit chance, attack speed, in that order. Our body armor gives us the vast majority of our energy shield, 837. So you won't really be, like, if you can get resistances on this, it's more of a luxury than anything else, because you just want as high an ES number as you can get. So we go from 8,222 all the way down to less than 4,000. So more than half of our ES is just from our body armor. Same is true for our helmet. If you can get a resist or 2, that's amazing. If you can get intelligence, dexterity, we need those. But the highest ES number you can find. Our rings, we want leech. Physical attack damage is mana. We want physical, flat physical damage, and we want resistances. These fire and cold damage rolls are going to waste, unfortunately. But this is where we're getting most of our rings, our belt. Pretty much you want to sneak some resistance in wherever you can get it. I'm just barely capped. It's not the end of the world. I feel like that's going to be the last thing. Like, I just capped my resistances, and you can go run around on like 5k energy shields with like 20 to 30% resistances. Feels fine up until like tier 8, 9, 10 maps. Like, you won't really start noticing how much you need resistances until 11, 12, 13, and need those ES upgrades. But yeah, it's probably gonna be the last thing you max. For your boots, you want movement speed, you want attributes if you can get them, you want resistances, and you want as much evasion rating and energy shield as you can. That's just a general rule. Anywhere you can get energy shields, get evasion 2 if you can. Leech, physical attack damage is mana, so you can get that on rings and gloves and weapon. Belt is going to be pure resistance. Armor is nice if you can get it, but it's not crucial. I basically have no armor. I feel fine. Resistances are real nice. Flat Fizz, resistances, energy shields, evasion if you can get it, mana leech. This has percent damage with bows, crit chance, a bit of a dexterity. Our amulet has energy shield, spirit. So you do need one source of spirit. We're running 2 buffs, so the 50 spirit lets us run both. Your mana flask, you won't run out of mana. I mean, it's kind of nice to have if you. So one really nice thing about this build is you can sort of like, you have some setup time. So if you're about to fight in an arena, you can do this, and then like when stuff spawns, you can. And that's the only time you'll ever run out of mana, and that's the only time having a quick mana flask will help. But it really doesn't matter what your mana flask is, as long as it's a mana flask, which it has to be. So you're fine. And then for your life flask, you will not need it very much. I feel like since you don't recharge energy shields, because of consuming questions, you can't recharge energy shields. So if you're running between zones, when you're hitting stuff, you're leeching, you're fine. But like between zones, if you like got hit at the last minute when you were killing stuff, it's good to have a life flask just to top up between encounters. But yeah, I think staunching is a good choice. That's pretty much it for the gear.